Hello, it is midday in Tripoli. It's 5 p.m. in Bangkok. I'm Monita Rajpal. You're watching CNN, the world's news leader. This is World One, live from London. There's confusion and contradiction in Libya over claims that one of Muammar Gaddafi's sons has been captured. Here's the man in question, Mutassim Gaddafi. The head of Tripoli's Revolutionary Council says troops seized him in Sirte as they tried to take full control of the city. You that anti-Gaddafi forces have reported the capture of Gaddafi's sons before, but those claims turned out to be false. CNN's Dan Rivers is trying to get to the bottom of these latest developments for us. He joins us now live from Sirte. Dan.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have to be fairly sceptical, Monita, about this claim at the moment.
Okay, Dan, thank you for that. Dan Rivers reporting to us there from Sirte. Thailand's capital is on high alert. Monsoon floods, which have already claimed more than 280 lives, are expected to combine with high spring tides over the coming days. Government officials say at one point, 2 billion cubic meters of water is reaching Bangkok every day. That's the equivalent of 480,000 Olympic-sized swimming pools. Ayutthaya, north of Bangkok, is already being hit hard. The World Heritage Site with 400-year-old temples has been submerged since last week. CNN's Paula Hancock sent us this report.
We're in the city of Ayutthaya. Now, this is about 100 kilometers or 60 miles north of Bangkok, and this province is one of the worst hit areas across the whole of Thailand. Roads have been turned into rivers here. This particular area has been flooded for at least 2 weeks, according to the local residents.
Well, let's get more now on the floods in Southeast Asia and the latest on the cleanup from the hurricane in Mexico. Let's go to our meteorologist, Mari Ramos, at the World Weather Center. Mari.
Hey, it's amazing, those pictures, Monita. That report they're coming from Paula from Ayutthaya province. We're not expecting a typhoon, and we're not expecting any kind of severe weather.
Mari, thank you very much for that. We've got Paula Hancock now joining us on the phone. She's, of course, covering the flooding there in Bangkok and, of course, the flooding in Thailand. Let's go to her now on the phone, and she's been finding out how locals are coping with living in this flood zone. Paula, what are you seeing?
Well, Monita, we've just been on a boat going through the center of Ayutthaya, the old ancient part of this particular town, and really boat is the only way to get around some of these areas.
Reporting to us there. You're watching World One live from London. Coming up, more pressure for Iran. The U.S. wants to tighten up loose sanctions over Tehran. The U.S. is pressing other countries to further isolate Iran's government. Washington accuses Iran of planning to kill Saudi Arabia's ambassador to the U.S. on American soil. The U.S. Treasury is raising a red flag for financial institutions that still deal with Tehran. Certainly becoming a quite intricate geopolitical story there. John, thank you very much for that. John Defterios there in Abu Dhabi. We'll want to see what newspapers around the world are saying about this. Here in the UK, the Daily Telegraph's headline, "The threat from Iran is going to get worse." The comment piece says the sheer amateurism of this recent plot suggests it may have been the work of a small faction within the usually professional and clinical Quds force, but it could also have been an attempt to divert attention from domestic travails towards foreign policy. In the United Arab Emirates, the National has an analysis piece with the headline, "Iranian plot is a sideshow in a long-running Gulf rivalry." It goes on to say, what is certain is that Iran and Saudi Arabia are engaged in a long-term rivalry for primacy in the Gulf region, the oil market, and also in the religious sphere. This rivalry has become more acute since the Arab revolts erupted at the start of the year. And finally, the Asia edition of the Wall Street Journal has an opinion piece headlined, "Iran's terror plot." The article calls the alleged assassination attempt a wake-up call, adding it's past time for a U.S. policy toward Iran to reflect the reality of what it is dealing with. Back, you're watching World One. Here are some of the stories that we're talking about. For the first time ever, scientists are reconstructing the DNA of an ancient and deadly virus. The plague is estimated to have killed about 50 million people in Europe in 5 years, but so far it's been a mystery as to why it was so deadly. Now, using teeth from 4 victims found in a mass grave of plague victims here in London, they hope to recreate the virus and solve the mystery. The breakthrough also opens the way for us to recreate and learn more about other ancient epidemics. A week after Steve Jobs died. We're learning a little bit more about the man, in particular that trademark turtleneck sweater that he loved to wear. Turns out he went to the Japanese designer Issey Miyake to have a corporate uniform made for all Apple employees. They didn't like it, a nylon jacket, but in the process, Jobs befriended the designer and asked for about 100 turtleneck sweaters, essentially his own personal uniform. Sales of those sweaters spiked in the days after his death. And James Bond got a new archenemy. Spanish actor Javier Bardem has been cast as Bond actor Daniel Craig's nemesis in the next film. I'm a bit excited about this. Bardem is no stranger to playing villains. He won an Oscar for his role as a psychopathic killer in the 2000 film No Country for Old Men. The new Bond film is slated for release in November of next year. Now, a 3-day global blackout, an army of grumpy customers, and a groveling company apology. But now, Research in Motion, which owns the Blackberry mobile phone, says its services are significantly improving. Lachlan is at RIM's European headquarters in Slough in England. She joins us now live. So how do things stand right now, Erin?
Well, Monita, it's good news for BlackBerry users across Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. Traffic is flowing. The network is working, Research in Motion says.
Devices. Erin, thank you so much for that. You are watching World One live from London. Baboon Man, author who has accused Dominique Strauss-Kahn of trying to rape her in 2003, is releasing a new book. Tristan Banon's novel paints a full picture of her version of the story, although it doesn't exactly name names. Instead, the author describes her attacker as, quote, a pig and Baboon Man. Well, CNN's senior international correspondent Jim Bitterman joins us now live from Paris to fill us in on the details. So that she's not exactly naming any names, but she is calling him some names.
Exactly. She's used the book, I think, to settle some scores here. Here's the book. It's called The Hypocrite's Ball. They printed 40,000 copies of it, thinking it'd be a...
And in terms of, are they flying off the shelves? Are the French public excited about this book? Or do they really want to read what happened, according to her?
It's gotten a lot of advance publicity, and there was a story that came out today in Paris Match, which of course always does help promote things on that score. But as far as we could tell, down at the store that we shop at here on the Champs-Elysees, not really a big crowd around the bookshelves.
All right, Jim, thank you so much for that. Jim Bitterman there in Paris. Italian Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi has called a confidence vote to show he's still in charge of the government. He made the announcement to Parliament a few hours ago, warning of a catastrophic crisis and early elections if he lost the vote. Sentencing is set for January 12th in the trial of a man prosecutors call the underwear bomber. Umar Farouk Abdulmuttalib told a shocked Detroit courtroom on Wednesday that he tried to blow up a U.S.-bound airliner on Christmas Day 2009. CNN's Deborah Farrick was in the courtroom and picks up the story from there. Heroes are starting to emerge in baseball's playoffs as teams continue to fight for a spot in the World Series. Don Adele joins us now with the details on that. Hey, Don.
Thanks very much, Monita. The Texas Rangers were beaten in baseball's World Series last year, but they're just one win away from getting to have another crack at it this time around. Monita. More on World Sport later on.
And it's going to be a fun world sport, apparently, and I'm really excited about this one.
Yeah, a racing driver taught me how to race. Today he's coming in and I'm going to teach him how to present live.
Ooh, is he excited? Nervous?
He's nervous.
Not that easy.
No, it isn't.
All right, Don, thank you very much. You're watching World One live from London. Well, let's take a look at what's trending on social media right now. At number 3, Scarlett Johansson is a top talking point after the FBI arrested a man accused of leaking nude photos of the actress online. The FBI says the accused has hacked into the accounts on computers and other devices of more than 50 people, including Johansson, singer Christina Aguilera, and actress Mila Kunis. At number 2, want to see your idea in space? Well, this week, YouTube launched a web-based space lab that's getting a lot of attention online. The video sharing site is challenging its teenage users to come up with an idea for a science experiment that could be performed live at the International Space Station and streamed on the web. If you're a teen, time to get thinking. And at number 1, smartphone blues. BlackBerry users are using the web as a sounding board to voice their frustrations with recent outages. Now, iPhone users are doing the same as they try to upgrade to Apple's new operating system, the iOS 5. There have been a number of glitches in the process, leading to an error message 3200, which is a top trend on Twitter right now. So what could could be possibly worse for a family of 4 hopelessly lost in a corn maze, calling the police and being found by a canine unit? How about having that emergency call released for the entire world to hear? Take a listen. Jeannie Mouse reports.
You're lost in a giant cornfield maze. You don't know which way to turn.
And that's why I'm not an outdoorsy person. You're watching World One live from London. I'm Monita Rajpal. Thanks for joining us. We'll update you to the news headlines at the top of the hour. Stay with CNN.